Hello guys, I'm Frank Awana, a product manager. So I manage the development of software products to solve daily life problems. Stay with me on the channel as I will be talking about my experiences, the frustrations, and the successes, and every other thing here in between. Cheers.
Welcome to today's episode. My name is Ikem Elvis. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for
It's
having
good
me.
to have you.
Yeah, thank you.
So, product management. So, the first time I heard it, I thought it was project manager that I heard. You need to have us what it is exactly, especially when it comes to the IT industry and so.
Okay. Currently there's actually that battle between project versus product management. But really, product management is the intersection between business, tech, and then the users. You're building a technology to be used by the final consumers, and as a product manager, you're basically focused on the intersection and then the processes involved from the ideation, the planning, the execution process up until the closing out of the product, where you now have something shipped out there as the final product. So there's a whole lot of process in between. You're having to ideate what needs to be built, and then you pass it through to the development team to actually execute it, and then you're passing to the sales team to transfer what has been built over time to the users, right? So what that process I've just talked about is the development life cycle. So the product manager manages all of these flow throughout the pipeline.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, let me get like a scenario. I come, for example, I'm the person hiring the product manager, and then I have the idea already, right? Do I need to have the idea already and then pass it down to you to sort of like recruit the team? I guess that's part of what you do, manage the team. Do I need to have the idea, or can you also be involved in the idea creation process?
I mean, it works both ways. At that point, what you're called, or what you be called, will be the product sponsor, right? Or the product owner, right? You have the idea, but then there's need for involving the product manager in the whole ideation process, because it's very vital to do idea validation. What that means is that idea you have, it's just in your head. So there are certain processes it needs to pass through to ensure that what you have in your head can actually be acceptable in the market. So there's validation, there's visibility, there's viability, and all of that.
Because of course you can have a product that's an idea that you have, but
it's very beautifully in your head, but
but when they
no
start
one uses
executing
it.
yeah.
So usability is one of those tests you have to also consider.
So how do you run the test?
Okay, so there's a product requirement document that covers all of the ideas, at least at the initial phase of your journey, right? And then you know your target audience. Say you're building a product, or let's make it interactive. You're building a product for what sector now?
Let's say agric.
For agriculture. That's nice. That's a nice coincidence. You're building a product for agricultural sector, and then you need to understand your users, your set of users. So that would include, say, the farmers, the market women, and the market men and women, and then the actual people who get to use these raw materials, the final consumers. So there's a whole lot of value chain involved, and then these are a set of users. So there's something called the user persona. Trying to understand these three, or it could be even more than three segment of users. Their pain points, they have specific pain points. What do you identify with them? And then with that knowledge, you're even having conversations with them, right? You're asking them sort of questions. You're learning about the existing products they used before your idea came into existence, the problems they had using that previous product. And then with that, you tend to get an added value to what you currently have. Like, okay, my present competitor is doing this, and I've interacted with my users. These are the pain points I think they have. I've now had that conversations with them, and these are the things I realized that the actual problems, and then I can use these actual problems, combine it with what my competitors are not doing right, or they are doing right but not actual.
So then it gives you an advantage in the market.
Yeah, an advantage in the market. Then you bring it on to the development stage, that this is what we think should be built. At that point, you're telling your development team what. So the how is not in your hands again as the product sponsor.
They are
It's
the
now,
experts.
yes, they're the experts. The product manager then takes it off from there. There's a whole design, the whole design thinking process after the design phase, the development phase proper, the testing phase, and then the product is out there.
Okay, so the development phase, now can we talk about it? So let's say an idea in that agri sector, say we want to move certain kinds of agri products and we want to use tech to do it.
Yeah.
So what would it involve in terms of tech development? Who would you need to recruit? What kind of team would you need to put together? And what do they need to have?
Okay, first off, I believe the product manager should not necessarily be a subject matter expert. So what that means is a product manager being someone in the agricultural space, but then it's of great advantage to have a product manager that has that technical nuances around the agricultural space, right? Maybe he studied or he has a little background in agriculture. So that helps him interact and has that, it's called empathy. So he's building from not just he's paid to do it or he's contracted to do it. He knows his onions in that field or in that sector. So he's building that, and then that is the first person you need, the product manager that can birth that idea you have. And then you also need to consider the designer, right? Okay. If it's a building, before the building comes full-fledged, you have to need the services of an architect, right? The architect draws the plan that the building is supposed to be this way and that way.
So that gives you direction.
The direction, the plan. So that's basically it. You need a designer to tell you, the product owner, the product manager, and the rest of the team later on that this is what we want to start off with. Now it can change, something called iterative. It can change over time, but this is where we are starting out as a plan. Yeah.
Okay, so what's that?
Iterative is a process in Agile that frequently changing. Okay. Yeah. So there are changes coming in from stakeholders. At that point, stakeholders could be the team, could be the users, could be the product sponsors. So the changes are now prioritized based on an order. This is really important. This is not so important. So the changes are now deployed in, right? Frequent iteration, frequent deployment, to ensure that at the end of the build process, what you built was what the customers or the users wanted, right? You're ordering something from the market, say a shoe, and then you're ordering it and then it gets delivered and it's not what you wanted, or you're sewing. So product management and agile product management, to be precise, makes it happen in such a way that every milestone you get to consult your stakeholders, and then having them being involved, not just over your shoulder, but during milestones, being involved in that product development phase, you can build the exact thing or near exact thing to what they wanted, right? So we're talking about teams you would need. Still on the product designer, you would need an amazing product designer, because what the users see, what the users see is something called an interface. What is an experience they need while they are going through your software. And all of that is the work of a product designer, the UX, UI, right? User interface, user experience. And then you'd also need the services of developers, right? A development team or software engineers, they call themselves. Yeah. We have the front end and the back end. The front end goes to do all of the things you interface with, but then there are certain APIs, that protocols going on at the back, and the interfaces are being linked by the back end guys. And then from there, you can also have the quality assurance team, right? Sometimes, and some teams actually let that role be done by the product managers, but mostly it's always good to have a quality assurance team based on ensuring that the quality of that product is up to standard, right? And I think that would make for a startup a great team. you have your designer, you have your product manager, your developer, software and back end, your quality assurance team, and then you're good.
So in the case where, say, you were given a plan,
Yeah.
and then you start, and then you, of course, consult, go to the market, do all those things, consult your team, and realize this would actually fly.
Yeah.
Now you have to change or kind of tweak from the original plan.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had that experience working with clients where it's not exactly what they gave you, because you testing it and with your expertise and your experience while checking out the market, doing the survey and everything, you realize this is not what they need. They need something close, but not exactly like this. So we actually have to tweak it just a little bit. Have you had that experience working with people?
Yeah, I get that bit. They're telling you we need to build this, and then you go to the market and you realize that that's not what is needed actually.
Yes.
It's always advisable to come back after making that market research. It's called user research, to your sponsors or to your product owners. That if you don't work for a company, you're just contracted to do this work. You come back and let them know that this is this. That helps greatly because it's not your product. I mean, it's your product at the end of the day. You built it, but you're not sponsoring that product solely. So you're accountable for these guys, called chief stakeholders, right? So you need to consult them that this product will not fly because of these reasons, that reasons, and there are technicalities around that. You just don't say no, you will not build this. You just handle it nicely and then let them understand that based on this data, because data validates results, based on these informations we've gotten, based on these responses from a set of audience that you thought was your audience, this will not fly. But here's what I recommend. Here's what should be done. Based on the fact that these guys are currently in the market and they've taken a chunk of the market with this feature, we can try this or that thing. So yes, that's having that product mindset, solving problems, that solution centric. You will not just come to them and tell them, no, it can't work. You're giving them, this is why it can't work, but this is what you'll be proposing. Yes.
And then what was the response like? Because, of course, in some cases, these are products that they've thought about for years.
Yeah.
And it has to be a certain, so like this sentimental attachment to it.
Yeah.
But the market doesn't care about your sentiments.
It doesn't.
So, but you're having a clearer view because you're not clouded by those things. You're working with practicality.
Yeah.
So, what's it like, the pushback?
Because I'm on air, so I don't know how viral this might get. But yeah, there are cases like that, so I'll take a step back. Yes, the product owner being really emotionally attached to where he feels like this is the idea, the best idea that can never be thought of, right? Then you do your research and sadly it's not. So you can always say no by showing them data, right? Track of data. And it's good that the product manager can have that sense of data. Even if you don't, I mean, you can always play around with your other engineers on the team, showing your stakeholders on a general call that this is a visualized data of stats carried out from your target audience. And with this feature, the information we are gathering is that it won't fly because of this, because of that factor, and all of that, right? This is the audience. Let's be specific, actually. For instance, you're still on the agricultural sector, and then you're building a product that's supposed to maybe convert goods from raw material, from the very farmers to, say, from the farmers to people outside the country, outside Nigeria. You're sending product because these are things that exist. So you're sending product from Nigeria, Benue State, for instance, right? Yam. And then you're trying to create a product that will transfer it or that will make it possible that people outside the country can order Nigerian yam, Benue State, and they now have access to it. And that's a great idea. But then when you consult a product manager, he goes more than that idea. He does that dirty work. How would these products pass through all of these processes? the technical processes and then the viable processes to meet the actual consumers, right? How do you channel these things to the hands of the final people that needs to use it? Are there policies in place in these places? The whole transportation, the whole logistics involved, and then you were thinking of just delivering a product to people in Yankee, but it's more than that. It's more than that. So when you have a clear understanding which the product manager will give and the data involved, you see how much you pump into this adventure, you see the plus, the minuses, you sit back and be like, okay, maybe let's do it this way. And at that point, even if it's not picked, you can also do a plan. I'd always say, okay, do not cast all your net into launch immediately. Test the waters. Do you get? Be like Peter, right? Don't sell out all your energy. Just test a bit of, would it work? So you're taking a specific kind of audience, a sample from all your audiences, and then test it with them with a fraction of the actual money you need to invest into this adventure or the venture or the business. So you test it with them. If it works and then it's validated, the idea is validated, it works, it's scalable, then you can then pump in more, right? But you just don't jump into that because you think that will work. More than thinking, the business side of things will not respect your thoughts. It will mess you up if you're not, it's not respect your thoughts.
Yeah, it will not, because it is practical. It does not respect emotions and all that. But then at the same time, I've seen we've heard, okay, for example, Jeff Bezos. I was studying his biography the other time, and in the early days of Amazon, for example, he went and he did a lecture. I think it was he presented something. I think it was at Harvard, their master's program, their MBA program. He was talking to so-called experts and scholars and everything, and they were talking about where his stuff is at now, and bigger companies like what's it called, Costco, and those bigger retail stores and everything. So their whole judgment was that your product is going to fail because these big companies are going to shut you down. Like, you cannot compete, because once they start realizing what you're doing, they're going to move over and it's over for you. And it was like, you can't see this. Are you not seeing what I'm seeing and all that? So of course that's like a rarity. That's like it happens just
There's one Jeff Bezos out of thousand Jeff Bezoses
exactly.
that can never match. Yeah, I get it.
So sometimes great products can be built, against but then that's an outlier. That's like one in how many billion?
Yeah, I agree. You said it, billion actually.
Yeah.
I know sometimes you need that founder gut feeling, believe so much that this would work. But also, you also consider the time you're in, that if Amazon was supposed to be produced or developed at this era with its scale, right? Given all of the resources limited they had as at the time. So all of these factors considered with the scale. But yeah, I definitely believe there's where gut feeling comes in. But I'm also certain that Jeff Bezos did not fly with the first edition of Amazon. Speaking of iterations, he kept iterating to get that perfect model.
So it's possible he had a different perspective of or access to certain data they did not.
Yeah.
Now, talking about data, what kind of data do you look for exactly, and how do you source it? Like, how much data do you need to collect on a particular project? Do you follow a particular template? Like this one, this, that one, then collect? Or do you just go, each of them have different?
Okay, so for different projects, there's always a scope. We have quantitative data and then we have qualitative data. When you say quantitative, you're referring to numbers, you're referring to a sample. And if you need, for instance, a product that needs to reach the whole of Abuja, Nigeria, you can get a sample, a large sample that will cater for a great segment of the people, different audience in Abuja, right? Quantitative. But if you need to extend as much as the whole of Nigeria, right? So you're leaving the northern or north central, you're going to the west, you're going to the east, you're going to the south. All these demographics, all these variations would really need that larger spans of data, right? All of these are now called quantitative. But there's something, like I rightly said, qualitative, right? There are demographics that maybe can also be considered side by side with quantitative, right? So a good mix of, or a good blend of these, and then you're visualizing it, and then you also have the metrics you're looking out for, right? Metrics is really important to consider. Will always be structures to recommend to having a good product out there. Yeah.
On the personal side, how long have you been in the industry?
In the industry, that would be 5 years, but specifically product management, that would be 2-3 years, yes.
Okay. So, yeah, I think we're having the conversation, and then I was like, okay, this is like with coach.
Yeah.
And then you now mentioned these failed IT people.
Be how to say that out there.
Is it that because you've had the experience a little bit here, like you mentioned, okay, failed, maybe you tried this and tried this and tried this and tried this. Now you have a clearer perspective. You are gathering experience, and now you know enough, you have enough perspective to actually run a team. If say somebody who's a programmer is running the team, he's only one-sided, right? So he only knows about the programming and not the other side. But you're able to get the clear perspective. Doesn't mean that they have failed IT, please. It's just a joke. So yeah. So tell me your experience about.
Okay, so I like the fact that you corrected yourself about. Yeah. So it's more of like almost everyone, majority of people, you start out and you want to do anything and everything just to launch in your career. Mm-hmm. You know, the tech space is the new oil and all of that. So there's me in, I think 2018, 2019. I'm doing marketing on the side. I started out in marketing. All right. So I do a little bit of marketing. I then do a little bit of WordPress front end. I try to learn data on the side, and then already have some good breadth of graphics. That's where the design comes in, right? But I'm not still there yet. So I'm not failed in any of these ones. I just know this thing is not for me, and I'm still pushing my career, and then I settle somewhere around operations management. So I now become an operations manager in a tech-driven firm. So there comes 2020. We're trying to launch our products. That's version 2.0. I work in a transportation, tech transport as at the time, transport tech, however you call it, as at the time. So 2020 comes, and then I know there's Corona. So post-Corona or pre-Corona now, a feature needs to come on to just stable the market, and we've all been hit in the transport tech sector. So a product needs to come on, and I work as the operations manager. A lot of staff and some workers get retrenched because of that era. Yeah. It was really crazy, but I'm still on, so I get to still liaise with the development teams at the time, and then we are like, okay, here's what we have left. So what can we do next? And then there's now the conversation around the version 2.0 of our product. So then there's me. Now I'm like, okay, I already have, from marketing, I already have that interactions with customers. I already know what works. I already know what our users, we have two sets of users at the time, the drivers and the passengers, right? I know what works for them. So it's now bringing this into the tech team. Instead of having me at the end, because there's a phrase that good customer service would never override bad service experience, right? You're marketing and you're marketing well, but you have a failed product, you would never have varied it. So then there's me coming back to like, yo, I've had these experiences with the people I have one-on-one conversations with. Let's do it this way. And then as at the time, I don't even know what product management is still, to be precise. So I work as, I think it's called project associate. Yeah, project associate. So that's for I think a year, and then we'll scale that 2.0. It does quite some numbers, and there comes a certain school. I would like to give them the credit because they launched my awareness to product management, Treford Academy, and I'd also recommend it for your fans. If you're confused about your tech journey, you feel you're a product manager but you're not too sure, and you just need where to learn that fundamental knowledge on product management, so I recommend Treford Academy for you guys. So there comes Treford Academy with that boot camp sometime around that period, and it's like that epiphany that this is what I've been doing all my life. So the marketing matters, the management matters. By the way, I have an MBA in business and management, so the whole strategy comes in play. The marketing and the tech I did here and there comes in. I don't need to be the one doing the coding, yeah? I just need to understand my developer as much as whatever he's doing, I can empathize with him, and then I can tell him what needs to be done, and then I let him play with his how, right? When he comes back with the how this is done, we can go over it together, right? So I try to prime myself to that level. I'm still a good work in progress, by the way. But yeah, that's the whole journey. So all of these experiences, it's not failures, it's actually, like I said, experiences to knowing that this intersects in one board, right? And it was PM for me.
Interesting, because all these things, if you didn't actually go through these things, you might not have arrived at this particular, which is interesting. And for so many people, that's how. And if you're listening, maybe that's where you are right now. You're trying to go from place to place. You know, it's close, but it's not quite the thing.
It's not.
You know, but you can feel it's not quite the thing. But you want to be in that sphere, but it's not that thing. You know.
Yeah.
So, but maybe that's what's happening. So if you give it enough time and keep moving, you know, as it leads, keep moving, you eventually come to that, you know, middle place where everything now makes sense.
No, I actually wrote a nugget somewhere around congratulations if you found yourself very confused and you look back and there are dark patches everywhere. You're actually on the right track. All you need to do is to ask the right people the right questions, right? You know you've been working so much, and then you're pushing in the work, and then you're suddenly lost, right? So what happens is you've delved into an uncharted area, I call it, right? Congratulations, right? Only a few people make it to that point. But keep pushing. Like I said, ask the right people the right questions, and then it's cliche though, but there's light at the end of that tunnel.
So, you know, away from the technical and, you know, the practical, because that's what you get to deal with all the time. Because I'm interested also in like how your journey went and got to this place, because, you know, I see it, I've experienced it in my own life, you know, in different aspects where it's like there's this instinct, you know, there's this instinctive part of you that is leading that thing, and it's like you can tell when you get into the place where you're supposed to be, and you can tell when you're not there. You may actually be good at it, you know, or fairly good at it, but you don't like it for some reason. Yeah, for some reason you just feel like it's not your place. You know, I don't know if you had that experience.
Yeah, there's this popular quote. Maybe when you're reviewing a video, you can add it up. Where it says, when you do the job you love, you're not working, right? But it's the best place to be in. For me, crazy enough, Monday is my favorite day of the week. A few people can relate to that, but I'm like, it's Monday, I get the chance to go do what I love. It has not always been so, but when I hit it, I just knew that that was my space. And this is where I realized also, you know, when you get to the point where even in chaos, you still find yourself thriving, right? You just know that there's something there for you, right? That it's haywire here, it's scattered, and you're that guy that tries to put everything together to make sure that works, then it's something you should consider.
So what's it like leading a typical IT team? Is it?
Can I shout? Whoa!
Because these are people that, you know, they're used to working by themselves.
My God! Okay, let's go to the fun part. The question is, what's it like? I mean, I shouted. I'm sure my engineers, when they get to watch this, they will know I'm shouting. It's fun. It's crazy, but it's fun. It's a mess, right? It's a situation, but you're doing all you have to do to make things work. So that's the job role. That's the job description, and I like to always say, I put up a post one time that as a product manager, you cannot please everybody. If you want to please everybody, just go and sell ice cream, right? Or maybe granuts. But then you can't.
Some people still won't like your granite.
Right.
Soft, this service.
Exactly. But you can definitely not please everybody. So all you have to do is to understand them as individuals, understand their work ethics, understand what is value to them, understand what is their motivation, but then also focus on the future that needs to get done, the product that needs to get built, right? And at times you're working with people that should be your friends, right? Because you're in the same team, but you also understand that one bug can be frustrating for an engineer. And then if you don't have that empathy to understand that situation they are in, you're coming to them and then you're like, guy, why you not do this thing since? That alone might...
Because they've actually spent hours doing that.
Yeah, it might remove some nuts from their heads. Is that the right phrase to use in camera? But yeah, and you get haters for a sprint, right? But truth is, if you understand their work ethics and then let them also understand what needs to get done, because at the end of the day, they are building the product, they are developing, and then you have given them the targets. But who interfaces with stakeholders? That's the product sponsor now. Who gets the blue? Who gets the who haven't not launched yet? Is a product manager, right? It's not your development team. So while they get all the expressions, however they come here from your sponsors, rightly so, right? You don't have to express it out on your team. You take it in, it's your job, that's why you're paid, and then you now let them understand, okay, fine, this is it, this is what we need to do, and this is why we need to do it, and then they let you understand that they can't do it, and then it's just something called negotiation. So negotiation skills is really important. You negotiate, argue to reach a resolve, or debate, but at the end of the day, it's the product first. It's the team first, actually, but then the product needs to get done, right? So has it been frustrating working with engineers? Yes. But yeah, is it fun? Yes, it's also fun, especially when it gets done. At the end of the day, I think that's why I have milestone parties, right? After the bulldozers, the boosts, and all of that. So you get to catch up with your dev team, and then you're like celebrating the milestone or celebrating the success. Thanks for the amazing work you did, right? Yeah, that's how it goes.
So you're also popular. Did I say popular? Famous. He's famous on LinkedIn. Talk to us about LinkedIn and the experience with LinkedIn.
Okay, it's a platform where I try to create a niche in. I've had Twitter at some point, I've had Facebook, but I know for this phase of my career, and I'm building for the world, yeah. So I just don't need my close friends alone. I need that network of, audience that can get me to where I want to be. So LinkedIn has provided that platform. I I currently belong to certain organizations and professional bodies that maybe I would have not met if not for LinkedIn. So while I'm building my own portfolio and then giving value out there, and I also like get people who like the value I'm offering, and then value begets value, and then we're like, yo, I like what you're doing, and they're like, yo, I do same, and then we're trying to craft down mutual identifier to scale. So it gives that more than just an African reach, really wide breadth of audience across the continent and the globe. I'm still growing my network, but yeah, it's really doing so far great.
Now, if someone who is starting in your field,
In product management,
yes, product management, say they just decided to start up. You've had the experience, you've seen where the pitfalls are. You could say them a couple of years. What would you say to them?
quit. Just kidding, just kidding. Okay.
Why are you kidding?
No, I'm just kidding.
You can
First off,
not kidding.
no, I'm not. I'm just kidding. Do not quit. Before I even said it, you might have thought of it, but do not quit. Do not. Let this be the conversation that changes your perspective, especially if you're frustrated, you're trying to get jobs in PM, in APM, and all of that. We've all always have to go through that path, right, of learning, then frustration before you get that first PM role, yeah? So just hang on a little, but try this instead, because back in my career, if I could take 3 years back, this is what I would do because it works. I would not just learn to do PM and then go after jobs when they come and all of that, or try to, because it's really saturated, and by saturated I mean if 100 persons were learning product management in 2020, that number has risen to as much as 500%, yeah. At this current year, their product schools, their product academies, all teaching, trying to share knowledge in the space in PM and all of that, right? So there are a lot of people considering product management, and also there are people who think it is easy. Disclaimer, it is not, right? But if you're still passionate about PM, if you've heard this story, if you share the same sentiment I did, or if you shared the same path, that you have that intersection and it's your calling, yeah, it's your purpose, you find that, okay, you like design, or you like marketing, or you like the management of people who solve problems, right? And you're still frustrated around it. This is what I would propose. First off is explore, right? I say explore, learn everything you want to learn around PM by yourself, right? You would not get to know everything, but just learn everything you need to learn by yourself. And then when you have done so, ask questions, right? Like at that point, you have friends who are already in the field. You don't go meeting senior PMs or product owners or CEOs like a lot of people do know. Just ask your friends in the technology space, what do I need? Or in the PM space already, what do I need to be a PM? I've already done this, I've already done that. Am I in the right track? And then I'm sure if you have nice friends around, they'll always point you to track. That at that point, you've explored by yourself, you've asked the right questions. You can then start watching videos here. Try to get so much knowledge on PM and everything PM. So there's Udemy, there's Coursera, there's a lot of PM free videos rather, and YouTube there out there, content out there you can learn PM, yeah. So when you're done with that learning phase, you start applying for internships, right? People do the reverse. They try to intern first without having that first breadth of knowledge. But what that does is it pours you into a wide ocean of PMs, right? And then there's you, an entry level, right? And then there's other people in their amateur, mid-level, entry level, if there's something like that. You get me, yeah?
Yeah.
And then you get confused, right? So there's something you need to have as a strength coming in. So is it user stories? Is it UX research? Is it documentation? Is it stakeholder management? There's something you have as a strength for you before the internship. So when you're done with the learning, and I mentioned Treford Academy already, and a few other schools you can do your internships with or your learnings with, you now go to the internship. And then when you're done with internships, at that point you're ready to get that your first job, right? But there are cases that it doesn't come in immediately. So at that point you can also call a few friends. Yo, I'm a PM. I have learned this. I have this knowledge in this. 1 year experience, but I'm not getting the job. But I think I have an idea. Can we develop this for this industry? I don't have the money yet, but since you're a software developer and then you also don't have the money or you don't have the first job like me, you're a nice designer, can we come together and build this, right? So that's called a pet project. You can do a pet project. The alternative is also maybe you're already in a company, right, that is delivering value to people. You're not in the tech side of things. You're just in like I was, right? You're just in the operations management side. You can also like try to get access to the tech side, offer them value. And over time, you can get the role of maybe a product associate. You're not the direct product manager, you're the associate to the PM. And then at that point, I think it's something called, the third thing is something called, something I would like to call there's a mountain, right? So you're climbing on tiny pebbles, you're stepping on rocks to get to that mountain, right? So you're using other rules related to PM to transition to PM, right? So there's PMM, that's product marketing. There's operations management, where I started out from. There is project management. If you have good skills in project management, you can also do well in product management. There's other related skills related roles in product management you can start from. And with this, you can transfer the skills to having that first product manager role. But ultimately, I would like to say, put your stuff out there in public. This is an advice. Ultimately, I'd always like to say, while you're learning, it gets frustrating in your own eyes. And it's not working, you're not getting a job, but just keep pushing out there. Pushing out in public has a way of refining what you do, right? Maybe you see you're not getting the numbers, you're not getting the visibility, but just keep pushing. You're getting better in minute ways. You may never understand until randomly, or maybe I could share a story, my story, right? I am just pushing out and then I'm feeling frustrated, right? I'm running around Twitter, scouting for PM roles, it's not coming. Then I give up on the whole social chariot, right? Then I start building with few friends, and then I get an invitation for an interview I did not apply for. And they're like, someone recommended you via a social platform, via LinkedIn to get, and I'm like, whoa, it's happening. So yeah, just keep pushing out there in public. And then someone that saw when you started out from, you have no idea who the person might be sometimes, has seen your track record and invest in you. It always takes that one chance, that one opportunity, that one person, that one event, and it changes everything, right? So keep pushing until you get that one chance at luck.
Where can we find you on social media?
Social media, Frank AWANA everywhere. So the AWANA for people like you, ANWANA. Then other social platforms, Twitter would be safrank _ and then hellofrank.xyz .com.
Yeah, they just have to be complex. That's
I've forgotten that one. Please skip. All right. So other social media platforms will have me as sirfrank_. Thank you.
all right. So thank you for joining us. You can follow him on. We'll post the links in the social media. We'll post the links in the description. If you enjoyed this episode, like, subscribe, share. We
Please
have
like.
so many. Yeah, we have weekly episodes coming out. So, but of course, stuff like this, they are important. They're important because you're gaining not just knowledge, you're gaining experience now. So you're learning so much over your stuff. It took him years to learn. You're learning that in just how many minutes of conversation. So please like this video, subscribe so that we get more visibility and you see more of our videos, and click on the notification bell so anything we post, you get to see it as immediately it lands. Thank you so much. See you again next week.
Thank you, guys.